The shoes that you wear determine how your brain works, and wearing the wrong shoes can literally shut down different regions of your brain. And this might be the root cause of your foot, knee, or back pain. Let me explain. Our feet are literally the things that connect us to the earth. And despite the significance and the importance of having healthy feet, they tend to go often very neglected. I noticed this problem years ago when I was trying to sort out some weird muscle imbalances in my own body, and I could literally trace all of the problems down to my left ankle. When I figured this out, I went on a mission to deconstruct why this happens, and that's when I met Graham. So this is Graham, and he spent the last 8 years in barefoot shoes. After years of chronic injuries, he dedicated his life to learning how to move, and now he's helped over 2,000 people fix their feet. We've seen professional athletes like LeBron James completely destroy their feet over long periods of time by compressing their feet into shoes that make them form into weird shapes. Some people say that barefoot shoes can actually change your feet. But is that the whole story? Graham has some interesting and contrarian opinions on this, and I got to spend an entire day with him extracting 3 core tenets that will help you move better, restore health to your feet, and get you back to being an athlete.
Look, the thing is that when people buy a pair of minimalist shoe or barefoot shoes, the thing that they're hoping for is a quick fix. Oh, if I do this thing and I just continue doing my life, my feet will fix themselves. To a degree, that does work because anything that lets your feet move is going to get a little bit more stimulus and stress. But the reality is that there are just things that won't happen if you're not even turning your brain on. And the best way you can do that is to use these things. We learn the world and experience the world around us by our sensors, our feedback. So we got our fingertips and our feet, which have thousands and thousands of nerves. We have the ability to mobilize and restore movement back to the toes.
So let's zoom out for a second. Why should we even care about this? Our brain sends signals through our central nervous system down to our muscles so that we can actually have the sensation of feeling something. When we can't feel something, that means that electrical current is cut off. And that's a part of our brain that's not working. That's a switch that's been turned off. So think about how disconnected from your body you actually are. And what does that actually mean for your life?
If I walk around and my hand is always like this, eventually, just like the shirt I'm wearing, you stop feeling it. My brain stops perceiving these as being separate digits. And so I just treat them like a flipper. But I literally, by putting on a toe sock or a 5-finger, or even a toe spreader, again, by touching this, I get some sensory feedback and I start to engage like, okay, these are different digits. And I'm really relearning my body, and that is so valuable. And if you don't have that, it is such a loss of everything. So going from regular socks to toe socks is gonna be a benefit. Going from regular shoes to shoes that let you move, feet move, is gonna be a benefit. But nothing will replace being able to get out, move, and feel the texture of the ground. Starting with a few minutes a day is gonna be huge.
Because most of us live in modern day and we have to walk around in the real world, and we can't just be barefoot all the time. We need something that is going to cover our feet, protect our feet, and let us operate within the confines of society without destroying our feet, without making things worse. So that's exactly where our sponsor for this video comes in, Origo Shoes, which is a company based out of Austin that I partnered with to make this video. So I've been traveling for the last couple weeks in Milan, in Chamonix, and now Lisbon. As I've been walking around an average of 15 to 20,000 steps a day, I wanted something that wasn't gonna destroy my feet like normal shoes, was actually comfy, but most importantly, didn't look like barefoot shoes. They sustainably make these shoes, they pay their people good wages, and they own their own supply chain, so they're not outsourcing to China. These shoes are great because they have the wide toe box, they have the flat sole, and minimal support, but they actually look like something you would want to wear. So if you want to get a pair of Origos, then click the link down in the description. You can get 10% off any pair, and let's get back to the video.
Once you have your feet turned on, just living your life takes care of the rest of it. And that's a strong belief of mine. A lot of this stuff should just happen as you do it, like a battery. Like you start going the car and the battery charges itself. That's really how the body is wired.
That's nice for Graham to say, but he's been doing this stuff for 8 years. For those of us who are just starting out, is that actually enough? I was super skeptical that with your feet, putting your bare feet on the ground and wiggling your big toes was actually going to move the needle and get the result that I'm after. And you're probably thinking the same thing. So that's exactly why I pressed him for more. And that's when he gave me the missing link. We did step 1, right, which is to rewild. The second thing was actually getting your hands to your feet, mobilizing that tissue, being able to get that sensation back, connect your brain to your feet. And now the third thing is to what?
Strengthen. Let's just say you want to expedite work on some strength stuff. Now this is something that the ideal form is that this stuff happens as part of you going through daily life. And strength training sounds just like it. It's understanding that there's joints. So you can come over and hold on to something, for example, like this, where you get barefoot and you hold on to something to take some of the weight off, and you just press up and then you press back down. Press up, and you can press up and hold the top. And notice that I'm taking the weight off by supporting myself up here, and then lower back down. Anything that spreads the toes and gets you to push into the ground. This is the value of spending time barefoot, is you can start to engage this. You start to see the motion here. You can advance this by getting something that gets you a little bit more range of motion. You can hang off, you can support, you can go one leg at a time. The name of the game is to be smart about how you regress, and that means taking the weight off, because of course, you can work your way up to like being able to be on your big toes only. You can be able to support yourself and do this, and there are people that literally get up there all the way and they're just on that big toe. But you can also just do the same thing and just go one toe at a time and stretch out this big toe. Your toes are really, really strong. You just have to give them the stimulus. So that's the first step, is just starting to support yourself, take the weight off and do that. Just like gymnasts can do handstands, do all kinds of stuff, the point is to play. And so when you look at the strength training, yes, there's some formal things to get you back. Like, for example, we can go through a foot crunch, being able to literally make a fist with your foot, right? There's toe crunches, being able to crunch your toes. There's big toe lifts, little toe lifts, piano keys, toe spreads. You get big toe abduction, you can move that. You can start to do foot tenting. You can do, like grab the ground. But the best thing I could ever encourage you to do is to play. Start to encourage that and incorporate that up. Because then once you get the walking down, the foot movement down, you can start to do the more traditional calf raises and actually get a benefit.
Throughout the course of the day, Graham showed me different exercises on how to walk and how to squat and how to move differently. And all these exercises, he goes way in depth inside of his course. But the point being is you have to do all three of these steps if you really want to make a long-lasting change and go back to being an athlete. Step one is you need to get that texture on your bare feet, right? That's going to create that connection, that awareness of what's actually happening. Number two is you're going to reawaken your feet by touching them and reconnecting to them through your own sensory input. And number three is you have to strengthen them using exercises that are going to challenge them and create more stimulus so that adaptation can take place. What are the role that shoes play in our lives?
It's not the shoes of the enemy, because the second that anybody leaves their front door, they're likely going to be in shoes, and that is 100% acceptable, because the world isn't like super safe and clean and all this stuff. Totally fine, I get that. Outside of the fact that you do need to have some capacity barefoot, when you're wearing shoes, understand that they're a tool. In so much as the shoe gives you space for your foot to move, and you're not wearing a sock that's smashing and contracting your toes together, you will get stronger. But there is a limit. So eventually, once your feet get over the hump of like, oh, I feel so much better, I'm wearing barefoot shoes, that's it. That's where you're gonna stop. And after wearing them for 8 years and working with thousands of people on this problem, I've realized that if you really wanna get to the point where your feet are engaged and you are able to walk and run and hike and move and play and jump without pain and without injury risk, you do have to just spend a lot of time barefoot. And that's kind of the basic thing.
After spending so much money trying to figure out different problems in my life from a health perspective, I kind of feel like the answer is always just to do the work. But the funny thing about this is you can do all the foot strengthening stuff in the world, but if you put your feet back into normal shoes, you're undoing all that work. And I really just can't bring myself to wear those 5-finger toe shoes, no matter how good they are for my feet. And that's why I love companies like Origo that solve both problems. They give me the functionality and serve the purpose of a barefoot shoe, but they also look like an everyday sneaker. Getting into barefoot shoes is the first step to you learning how to move better. And you have to get your foot in the door somehow. And I like things that improve my health, not by adding anything, but by subtracting the things that are doing the damage. So let's be clear, it's not the answer to the whole problem, but it's an absolutely essential part of the equation. If you're wearing the wrong shoes, you'll get inaccurate feedback from your feet to your brain. And if you can't actually feel what's truly going on, then you'll never be able to hear what your body is actually telling you.